Welcome to the Direct Line, the official podcast for OADSP. We're excited to have you here with us today, and if you have comments, suggestions, or if you want to join us in studio as a guest, reach out to me at podcast@oadsp.org. I'm David Rustio, and today we are speaking with Ann Wysant, who manages the DSP and Provider Support Team for the Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities. Welcome to the show, Ann.
Good morning, David. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Thank you so much for having me.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. So I have been here at DODD it'll be 22 years in May.
Wow.
But I'm really proud of where I came from.
Okay.
I started in this field as a direct support professional.
Okay.
I came out of college, wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. Had a background in communications and public administration and gerontology. So I thought I wanted to kind of go into the aging program. Was looking for a job and found the opportunity to work a position that allowed me to come in at Friday late, 8, 9, 10 in the evening,
right,
and then get off work Monday morning at 8, 9. And it was kind of like, wow, I can work a full-time job and really only be 2.5 days on the clock.
Right.
And I have a lot of free time available. As a young adult, it was important to me to have time with my friends to do kid things. So being able to work that short period of time and have a lot of time off Monday through Friday really worked for me. And, it didn't take long that it became much more about other things. It became much more about the people. And so I just kind of fell in love with the field, worked in the direct support care part of the field for about 8 years.
Okay.
And then had the opportunity to go and fill a temporary position with a county board.
Okay.
Back then, this is my age, we were case managers,
okay.
But what are now SSAs. And so spent about 9 years with the county board doing SSA functions and community resources, and then took a position at the department, and I've been at the department since then. So I think the most important thing about me and my career is that I've been able to advance, that there's been a great career path from a DSP up to my current position, and that the experiences I had as a DSP were all the things that I needed to, get where I'm at today. And I can reflect back on those with the work that we do today. So that's a little bit about me.
Well, that's a lot. It's great when people start as a DSP, then they really know what folks are up against and how to support them.
Absolutely. And, when you get to a place like where I'm at in my job right now, my career right now, where it is in the policy division at DODD, meaning that we are part of the conversation about policy decisions. Having that experience and having that background, I think, is vital in making sure that what happens at the state level. Often as a direct support professional, as a frontline supervisor, we feel very disconnected from the people who are, making decisions and working at the state level. So being able to bring that voice, I think the other thing that's so important about the job I do, and I know we haven't really talked about what our team does, is that we continue to have that ongoing connection with DSPs. Because what I experienced, 25 years ago, almost 30 years ago, as a DSP is a very different experience than what our current DSPs are experiencing. And so I can't just assume that what I bring as my experience fits into our current system. So making sure that we keep that connection through opportunities with OADSP and other organizations to have communication and interaction and engagement with direct support professionals is vital to the work that we do.
Sure. So you brought it up, so let's talk about your team and what they do.
Absolutely. So we're a relatively small team.
Okay.
About 4 years ago, the first 18 and a half years of my career at the department, I was working in compliance.
Okay.
So I was responsible for the work around licensed residential facilities and ICF IIDs. And we began to talk in the compliance unit about how beneficial it would be to have a way to connect with providers, independent providers, and DSPs prior to compliance.
Okay.
Having those interactions, having that engagement, because a lot of times what we would find is that compliance issues were built upon maybe not having the knowledge or the base of knowledge that as a new provider or as a new DSP, you really needed to be successful.
Absolutely.
So we began to talk about, how can we support providers? We identified, the fact that within the department for many years, we had different divisions or different units that supported other types of roles within the system. We had folks that provided technical assistance to our county boards. We had, folks that provided technical assistance and support to families and to individuals with lived experience. But we really didn't have a system in place at the state to provide that technical assistance, resources, and just support to our providers and our DSPs. Many times it was a reactionary support. So because there was a negative outcome or whatever, and we were like, we want to be more proactive. What can we do? And so we started provider supports in the compliance unit. We did that for about a year and a half and really made a really purposeful decision that it really needed to live outside of compliance.
Right.
Compliance it has a place and it has a role, and technical assistance and support is a little different. I think one of the great things is that having 18 and a half years experience in compliance allows me to be a credible voice when I'm talking with providers. So it was kind of a natural transition for me. We landed in the policy division, which makes perfect sense. And then we brought aboard a couple of staff members with me. And we have Michael Hogan and Renee Weaver who work with me. And Michael and Renee cover the state within the geographical regions that are set up by the Ohio Association of County Boards. So we have 6 superintendent regions. We have a map on our website. So if you go to dodd.ohio.gov, right on the main page, you will see a link for support teams. And if you go to that link, you'll get a map of Ohio that is divided by those 6 regions. And you can click on your county, whatever county you work in, and you can find a contact person, whether it's provider supports, whether it's MUI, whether it's Ohio ISP. 9 different program areas are identified, and there is a contact person's name, address, and email address. So you can directly contact Michael, Renee, or any of our other team members at the state. So Michael has regions 1, 6, and 5, and Renee covers regions 2, 3, and 4 for us. And they are the ones that are, right there in those communities. They both live in those geographical areas. So they're able to make those connections with the direct support professionals. Our goal within the provider resources and support team is exactly that. It is connection and engagement with the people who are delivering services and really making our system work. So we're engaging with providers, we're engaging with direct support professionals, we're engaging with people who are interested in becoming either providers or direct support professionals, whether that be certification to provide through the waiver program, or whether that be students in the DSPU program who are just looking at what does a career as a DSP look like. Maybe the first step is I become an employee of an agency. So we're trying to make those connections in any way we can.
Wonderful. Are there any current initiatives you're working on with your team?
Absolutely. So, our team was really, really busy during the pandemic. Really, our focus at that point in time was addressing pandemic-related issues for providers, making sure that we had access to PPE, test kits, looking at helping them when maybe one of their congregate living sites was either experiencing a staffing shortage due to staff having COVID, or maybe they had to figure out ways to isolate individuals. So, for 2.5 years, we spent a lot of time focusing on supporting providers just based on their COVID experience. And so from that, we realized there's a lot of other things that our providers were asking for and seeking out support. Obviously, one of the biggest one is workforce issues. So we are, working directly with providers as they face workforce issues, helping them to brainstorm and identify resources that are available in their local communities, making sure that we're connecting them with the local county boards, because those are the folks at the local level who know what's available in the community. If I'm looking for ways to recruit new direct support professionals. I can go and speak at a local college. I can go and, maybe connect at a church. That's not something our team would have the connections to do, because obviously I live in Knox County. I don't have a lot of connections in, Warren County.
Sure.
But the county board would have those connections. So we partner with the county boards to support providers through workforce issues. We also work with providers in, looking at provider culture, looking at ways that they can enhance their culture to make retention a better possibility for them. People want to work, but they want to work in good places. They want to work in places where they really do feel a sense of team and belonging and appreciation for the work they do. So we are doing a lot of work around workforce. What does that look like? How do we enhance that culture within our provider system in Ohio? We're also working on supporting the folks at the county boards who do provider support. So each county board has someone, regardless of what their title is, who's kind of been identified as that provider support point person for the county. And again, this was kind of grown out of something that started during COVID. We asked each county board to identify a provider support person for PPE and things like that. And we've said, we don't want that to end. It's great to make those connections. So those provider support staff at the county boards, number one, a lot of them are kind of new in that role. And we don't really have a community of practice around what local provider supports look like. So we've been working with county boards in each of the 6 regions to begin getting them together regionally to talk about what they do, best practice, successes and failures. And if you think about what DSP and provider support looks like, it's broad. It's very broad. It may be, supporting someone through their first recertification. It may be workforce, a particular provider that's struggling to have enough staff. It may be a new rules come out and somebody wants to get some guidance and interpretation on new rules. So provider support is such a big, broad area that we wanted to get people together and say, what does your system of provider support look like? And if you're doing it well, are there pieces and parts that we could work together to share with others within your region? Our goal for next year is to now take that regional model and say, how do we all come together at the state level? Maybe we have, big meetings with people from all over the state and begin building a system of practice statewide. So we have partnered with what's called the PCW group. It is a group that already exists of county board provider support staff who've been coming together to have similar conversations. And so we are going to be participating with that group and making sure that all 6 of the regions are coming together at a statewide level to talk about best practices.
You mentioned rules and people come together, to make the rules. Who makes the rules and where does the drive for a new rule come from?
Absolutely. So who makes the rule kind of depends on what the rule is or what the topic of the rule is. So for instance, the department has a Medicaid development, the MDA unit, and the MDA unit really oversees and develops processes and rules around the waiver program. And so if it is something related to waiver, then there are going to be subject matter experts from that division who are going to reach out to subject matter experts and also stakeholders externally to come together and talk about either an existing rule and what changes may need to be made to an existing rule, which there is a 5-year process where rules are reviewed once every 5 years, or a rule can be opened because there's a systems change that needs to be made. So for instance, with some of our Medicaid rules, as folks know, Appendix K, which is the document that kind of outlines the waiver process for Ohio, was allowed to be modified during COVID. So it allowed some flexibilities within those waiver rules during the pandemic. And what we learned from that is that some of those flexibilities really had a positive impact on service delivery in Ohio for families, for individuals with lived experience, and for our providers. And so right now there's conversation going on about which ones can be continued.
Right.
If we do continue them, then we have to have rules or modify some of our rules. So it's things like that that might bring a rule up for change.
Okay. So how does your team help and support direct support professionals?
Absolutely. So many of you may have seen us around the state during September. So September has a DSP Recognition Week. A lot of places spread that out, and we celebrated all month in Ohio, actually.
We did.
And this is kind of the first year that we've begun to transition more into face-to-face activities. With the pandemic being over, for the last few years, folks have not gotten together to do these celebrations. And so there were a ton of celebrations this year. We reached out to the field and said, we would love to come and be a part of those celebrations. One of the things that's difficult at the state level is that I can print off a list of every agency that's certified. What I can't do is print off a list of every DSP that works for that agency.
Okay.
So getting that connection at the actual DSP level, unless they're an independent provider.
Sure.
But if you're an employee of an agency, it's really hard for us to connect with you. And so we felt that if we could work with the provider agencies that were having events, it would be a great opportunity for us to engage with face-to-face direct support professionals. So we attended a ton of events. We went to the OADSP event at the zoo. DODD was one of the supporters of that event. So we were there, had the opportunity to engage with the, I would say probably 300 DSPs that were there.
There were a lot of people.
It was a great event. We passed out some goodies. We talked a lot about, who we are, how to contact us. Even if you are a DSP that works for an agency, you can connect with us. It doesn't have to be a provider agency. If you've got a question about why do we do what we do, or, I don't understand, there's a compliance review coming up. What does that mean for me as a DSP? We are happy to answer those questions. We also went to a lot of events that were sponsored by the agencies themselves. So we had an opportunity to engage with folks up at the Cleveland Zoo. There were a couple of kind of gala events with dinners and awards. The governor and lieutenant governor and Director Helk had a proclamation for the week. We shared that proclamation around the state with those that we interacted and engaged with. And I think the most important thing was just making sure that people could put faces and names together and could walk away with a way to contact us if they have any issues or questions. A couple of things that we do, we were talking about initiatives. We have a DSP Connection newsletter.
Okay.
So again, you can go to dodd.ohio.gov. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page, there's a link that says subscribe.
Okay.
And if you click on subscribe, you'll get a list of different publications that the department does. Some of them are our Memo Mondays, which come out every Monday with kind of immediate topic issues.
Sure.
There's a pipeline that comes out quarterly. That's kind of like a general newsletter. And then we have our DSP Connections newsletter with ideas and stories that we think, really would have some impact on DSPs. We also take, I don't want to say nominations because we don't pick people. We just recognize them all. But we take applications, or people send in people to be recognized as DSPs. And so every month in our newsletter, you'll see, one or two DSPs who are recognized for the work that they do based on feedback from their peers or their management. We also have the rules listserv where you can connect and get updates on any rule changes.
Okay.
Anytime a new rule goes into effect. We also have the Disability Connection newsletter, which is geared towards the audience of families and individuals receiving support. But again, I think that relationship between DSPs and the people and the families that they support are so important that I would recommend any DSP to sign up for that newsletter as well, to kind of be able to read articles and stories and things that really are tied to the folks that they're supporting.
Now, if a DSP wanted to make contact with with your team or with DODD, what's the easiest way for them to do that?
Absolutely. So again, if we go back to the regional map that's on our website, you're going to be able to go there and find Michael, Renee, and myself's contact information.
Okay.
Probably the easiest way is by email.
Sure.
Just because
you're busy. Everybody's
we are,
busy.
And you can multitask, right? You can be in a Teams meeting and still respond to an email. So sometimes by phone, you're going to get a delayed response from us.
Sure.
So I always recommend, email first. If you don't hear from us within a day or two, give us a call. But generally, you're going to get a much quicker response via email. We're happy to set up a Teams meeting with you.
Okay.
We're happy to travel to where you are, meet with you face to face. Again, a lot of times the need is such that we want to bring in somebody locally who can be part of the conversation to help us figure out what resources might be available locally. We get a lot of calls and things like, I want to become a provider.
Sure.
For folks who aren't currently a independent provider. We'll get calls from folks that, I want to work in the field, but I'm not sure what the next step is. So again, we talk a lot about both becoming certified and about how to connect with provider agencies. A lot of times when people get the information about being a certified provider, they decide, maybe being my own employer and being self-employed isn't the route I want to go, but I still want to work in this field. And so we can help you figure out how to find the provider agencies that are in your community, to reach out to them, to find out about becoming a DSP. We've been working with some folks from OADSP with the DSPU program, again, to figure out how we can connect folks who are interested in becoming providers with DSPU. A lot of county boards are participating in the DSPU program. So you don't have to be in school, right? There is a way to get connected with DSPU, get DSP specific training, go through a curriculum that is geared towards starting a career in this field, even if you are an adult and you've graduated.
Sure.
So we try to make those connections for folks that are interested.
So, Ann, what would you say to our audience of DSPs? What would you like to say?
So first of all, I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for the work you do. I mean, the most important thing is, even though we celebrated during September, even though September 10th through 16th was DSP Appreciation Week, it is bigger than today, and me saying thank you today. It's bigger than 1 week in September. It's bigger than 1 month. It is 365 days that we appreciate what DSPs do. We know that the system doesn't work without DSPs.
Absolutely.
And so we have to be focused on what are the needs of DSPs, because the needs of DSPs are what drive our system. So I think the two main things I would like direct support professionals to kind of take away from today's conversation is, number one, we appreciate you 365 days a year. We see you. We know what you do. Some of us have done the same thing, and we know it's not easy. We know it's not an easy job. We know that there are ways that we need to improve the system to make the system better for direct support professionals. And I think the governor's investment into the budget for the next coming biennium is a true response to what the legislators heard from folks in the field who took the time to come and voice their concerns. The second thing is, know that we're here. Know that if you have a question, if you don't know where to start with the DSP and provider support team. We may not be the subject matter expert for the issue that you're contacting us about, but if not, we can connect you with who is, or we can get an answer for you. Again, the DSP and provider support team really addresses global issues. So we get questions that span the spectrum, right? So again, I will never say that the three of us are subject matter experts on all of them, but we do know who to connect you with. We do know what resources are out there. So whether it's connecting you with another subject matter expert, whether it is getting you access to and directing you to resources, connecting you with your local county board, I kind of look at us as being that triage nurse when you go to the ER, right? So you need somebody to kind of say, this is what my problem is, this is what my ailment is, this is what my issue is. And that triage nurse isn't the doctor that's going to be able to stitch up your wound, right?
Sure.
But he or she is going to be the person who can say, this is what you need, here's how you get it, and connect you with what you need. So that's really our role.
Okay. Well, thank you, Ann, for being here today.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure.
I appreciate you coming in, and I know our listeners do too. You have a great day.
Thanks, David.
Thanks for listening, and join us next time on The Direct Line.